for?
My name is John Garrido, and I'm running for 45th Ward Alderman.
Okay. May I ask why you decided to run for alderman?
I'm running for 45th Ward Alderman because my wife Anna and I have lived in the ward for almost 10 years, and during that time we've seen storefront after storefront has closed their doors. There appears to be no plan in place. We've watched as they've depleted our police resources in the ward. We once had over 300 officers assigned to our district, and now we're down to 208. It just appears as though nobody's at the helm. And not to beat up on the alderman that's on his way out, but I felt that I could have a most significant impact on our community by running for alderman.
What do you think our ward needs most, and why, and how would you provide it?
Well, several things. We need public safety, economic development, and knocking on door after door, recycling. Everybody wants recycling, but as far as the public safety goes, we need to hire more officers. We shouldn't be taking officers from one district and moving to another. And without going into a long thing about tips, there are hundreds of millions of dollars sitting in tip funds that are not being utilized properly, and they were diverted away from the taxing bodies, which just means that $500 million didn't go to our Chicago public schools. $200 million didn't go to our city general fund, which could be used for recycling, hiring police officers, and hiring firemen, and economic development. These businesses, we need to go out and attract anchor businesses. We need businesses like Starbucks, Trader Joe's, Panera Bread, businesses that can weather an economic storm, that will draw other businesses, that will show stability in the community. And we need that for everything all the way from Superdog down to Six Corners. And then from there, there's a lot of other things. I've got a business development plan that we're going to have to help businesses get up and running and partner up with them. But you can get all that from my website.
Okay, and what is your website?
My website is johngarrido.com. It's my name. JohnGarrido.com.
Okay. You mentioned increasing the police in Chicago's force. What are your feelings about the crime in our ward and or in our city, and what other measures do you plan to use to implement this?
Our ward is considered to be one of the quote-unquote safer wards in the city, but we don't want to get into a situation where we're trying to play catch-up. I've been on the police department more than 20 years, and I've seen districts where it has just become impossible to try to play catch-up. So we do have criminal element in the ward, and bad guys go where there's no police officers. And when we're running on a skeleton crew like we are, and where officers are running just from job to job, they don't have time to interact with the community like like we need to. That's what CAPS and community policing is all about. And we're unable to perform that function in our neighborhoods because we just don't have enough police officers. So TIF money, that is where there's a lot of money that once it's put back to where it's supposed to be in the city general fund, we'll have plenty to hire more police officers. So that's one way. Also, I'm going to be an alderman that's going to demand that they don't take any more police officers out of our ward. I've been to meeting after meeting where other aldermen in other districts stand up and they complain and they get what they ask for. We unfortunately haven't had that kind of representation, so they just continue to take police officers out. They took our gang teams out of the district, which covers our ward, and now they're talking about reallocating and moving officers out of the ward, and I couldn't be more against that.
Okay. What are your feelings on gun control?
Gun control. I do believe that law-abiding citizens have the right to protect themselves. I am glad that the Supreme Court overturned the city's ban on guns. It's not the law-abiding citizens that are committing the crimes. It's the bad guys. And the bad guys aren't following the laws. They're not standing in line and waiting a few days to buy a gun. That's just not how it works. We have a minimum. It's documented that we have 40,000 gang members, but the estimates are more like 75,000 gang members. And they're armed. We only have about 10,000 police officers spread out over the entire city, and they're not all working at the same time. There might be only 1,500 to 2,000 on the street at any given time. So we can use the backup. We need people to be able to protect themselves. I had training in Socorro, New Mexico, and I met some officers from Texas, and they told me how they were worried when they went to conceal carry. Now, we're just talking about having a gun in your home, but in Texas, they went to conceal carry, where people were able to carry a weapon on their person. They were nervous and apprehensive about it, but they also have a system down there where if you are convicted of a misdemeanor, you lose your privilege for a period of time. So what happened? Smaller crimes first started to drop because law-abiding citizens didn't want to lose that privilege. So what did? They stopped committing some of the minor stuff. And then from there, the major crimes started to drop off because it just took a couple times of somebody doing a stick up at a store and being taken out by a customer in the back. And next thing you know, the major crimes started to drop off. So our laws are set up kind of backwards. We need to strictly enforce the gun laws that we have on the bad guys, and we need to allow citizens to protect themselves. There's absolutely no reason to trying to have a ban, it being an island in a stream, where they can get guns in Indiana, they can get guns in Wisconsin, they can get them everywhere else, and then we're going to be the only place where you completely ban guns. It doesn't work. It just doesn't.
Chicago has a long history of corruption in government. Can you tell us why we should trust you?
Well, first of all, I've been a Chicago police officer for over 20 years, and my record is available. You can see I've had a flawless history on the Chicago Police Department. I've displayed nothing but honesty and integrity. So going in from that angle, I've got a proven history of that. Secondly, that's what I do. I fight crime. I look for bad guys. I lock bad guys up. I would be more than happy to catch somebody doing something politically corrupt and to lock them up too. So I will definitely work hard. And like I said, down at City Hall, we're going to have 11 new aldermen. We're going to have a new mayor down there. And with all of this, everybody's going to be butting heads. I'm not going to be afraid to step on some toes down there and make sure that I demand the resources that we're paying high tax dollars for up here on the northwest side. Make sure that we start because if we can bring businesses and jobs into the ward, that helps our community, increases our property values. We can actually possibly lower property taxes. There's so many things that come along with it. And if you look at the 41st ward up in Edison Park, it's not even convenient to get to, and parking is terrible, and they're booming. But us, where we have the Blue Line, the Metro, we have the Kennedy, we're close to O'Hare, easy access downtown, and we're a ghost town. There's just no reason for it.
What would you say to our young people, to the children, to help them to become, as they grow, more of a part of the solution and more confident, happy citizens in Chicago?
I tell you, vote. That's the biggest thing. And I mean, if we're talking about, learn about politics and get yourself educated, understand who you're voting for, why you're voting for. But the biggest thing is especially once you turn 18, you need to come out and vote. We have a horrible voting record here in the city of Chicago. Actually, the country as a whole, people become apathetic because they believe that their vote doesn't count. Look at the governor's race. Within just, I think 20,000 votes statewide, that's not a lot. So some of these races come down to be very close. But here, a perfect example of what happens here is the last election for alderman. We have 32,000 registered voters. Only 13,000 people came out to vote. So the winner won with 7,600 votes. That means 7,600 people out of 32,000 decided who was going to be our leader. Your vote counts. You need to become and stay involved. That's our God-given right. And I tell you what, there are people dying in other parts of the world for the right to vote. And we have it here, and so many people don't exercise it. So that is the most important thing I could say for our youth. Become educated, get involved, and at minimum, even if you don't go into public service or anything like that, vote.
Is there anything that I have not asked that you think people should know very much about you and your campaign?
I just think that they should know that, if you look at all of our campaigns, our ideas are all going to merge together. Everybody starts talking about each other's ideas. And I tell you what, it's going to come down to representation. And there is no doubt I will be a strong advocate for this ward. Like I said, I've got public safety experience and I've got legal experience, and I am not afraid to stand up to these machine politicians downtown. I will absolutely demand the resources that we're paying high tax dollars for in our ward, and I will get it done.
What about your role in City Hall when you become alderman?
Well, it's going to be, our role there is going to be, first of all, I'm going to be extremely engaged in the process, and I'm going to make sure these other aldermen are. They're probably going to be a little annoyed with me, but I'm actually going to read the ordinances that we vote on, and I'm going to ask them questions about our ordinances. I'm not going to be a rubber stamp. I don't care who the mayor is. It doesn't matter. They're not going to come in and bully us. We're going to be a strong city council. I'm going to build coalitions with other reform-minded elected officials on the city council, and we're going to make sure that we're doing what makes sense. We're going to cut back on spending. We're going to cut back on patronage hiring. I'm going to propose that we reduce the number of aldermen. We have 50 aldermen now. There's no reason to have 50 aldermen. How about make aldermen work full time? You get $110,000 a year plus an expense account. Make aldermen work full time. We shouldn't have other side jobs. I will be a full-time alderman. I will not be a police officer. I'll be on a leave of absence. I will not work as an attorney. So why can't everybody else work full time? And let's reduce the number of wards to 25.
Okay.
And I am ready to get in there and do it for you.
Thank you very much.